Decoy trick the $6. Seder talks about your argument on gun ownership around 1 minute. Oh, a link that I do care about. Hold on. People have been referring to this.
Disco Stew, I'm a black man, and for a long time I was personally anti-gun ownership for the typical reasons. But that was based on an assumption we lived in a somewhat civilized society. It's clearly not the case anymore, and I strongly advocate from those from marginalized groups to arm themselves quickly while they still can. Not for protection against the government, but for protection against your conservative neighbors who the government will no longer protect you from. Fascism is here. I mean, the only problem with that calculation is there's no reason to believe that arming yourself from your conservative neighbors is going to be any more successful than arming yourself from home invaders. The bottom line is you put a gun in your house, someone in your house is more likely to die. That's just
Also,
statistics.
if you get killed and you got to
I don't think that follows logically. The reason why home invaders are like the reason why having a gun in your house to defend against a home invader is really like dumb and generally ineffective, unless there's some specific knowledge that you have, is that home invasions happen suddenly and randomly by people who enter your house, usually prepared to kill you or believing that you're not in the house. The circumstances of a home invasion are such that like the idea of arming to prepare yourself against it is kind of like dumb. It's like concealed carrying in case you get in like a mass shooting or whatever. It's the odds of it happening are so unlikely and such. The difference is with a big conservative uprising or like fascist marauders or militias in your area, that's something that you would have warning on, you know? Um like if things fell apart, remember BLM? When like the fucking red hats start driving around in trucks in your neighborhood, that's not like a split second, it happens like instant thing, you know? Like this is something you'd see it like unfolding on the news, you would hear reports of it. Like it would like if it happened, it would happen gradually from outside the city, like moving inwards towards. You have time to prepare, and you would also be able to identify people when they're outside the house. It's not just like your conservative neighbor breaks into your house personally. It's like your neighborhood is defending itself against like marauding groups of fascist militia or whatever. You know what I mean? Yes, suicides and homicides are more likely when there's a gun in the house. I've never denied that. But you get what I mean, though. That's the difference, right? That assumes community organization. Even if you're just one person, like having one person in a neighborhood. Bosh, I think you're massively overestimating how much most people track current events. What? If there was a big fascist uprising or the government fell apart due to a constitutional crisis and like far-right militias started moving into the cities, people would be aware of it, you know? Don't get me wrong, political apathy is strong in this country, but not 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 to that point. I thought you said that doesn't follow. No, the fact that having a gun in your house increases the likelihood of homicide or suicide does follow. That's not what I was referring to. I don't think there's a strong parallel between defending yourself against a home invader or defending yourself against a fascist uprising. Um, yeah, I think those are different like situations. I know people who are that blind to current events. Okay, well then they're not the people who would be defending their neighborhood. When you said get to know your neighbors, what do you mean exactly? Get to know your neighbors. That used to be a thing people did normally, you know, before the internet. Like, if you live in some gay ass part of town, for example, it's not exactly difficult to casually talk like, hey, things are scary lately, da-di-da, you know, just a brief cursory. What you want in a neighborhood is some mutual trust. Mutual trust is like the glue that will hold people together in difficult situations. If things fall apart, mutual trust is the difference between neighbors fleeing if there's conflict or neighbors asking you if you're okay before fleeing. You understand? That difference can mean the world. If one person has food, water, firearms, or ammunition and the other doesn't, that short conversation, that brief acknowledgement of the neighbor, can be all it takes to secure both people's well-being. Um, all it takes is a little bit of trust. Know their names, you know? Bake them some cookies. Like, just do a little anything, you know? Um, it can make a big difference. Obviously, if you're in some like crazy far right area or like rural conservative or whatever, then yeah, probably that's, you know, your neighborhood's not gonna be standing with you there. But I mean for people who live in more like urban or left leaning areas. Red One Monster, I believe in you. Do you know your neighbors? Hey, listen, okay? Do as I say, not as I do. I compensate for not knowing my neighbors by, supplying myself with unlimited ammunition and firearms. All right, just listen. I'm compensating in other ways. Okay, not all of you can afford like 9 guns. All right, 9 guns and counting. Just finish the argument.
The gun on you, and it was a white neighbor that shot you. Cops aren't going to look into it. Or if you get killed by a cop and you have a gun on you, that's the end of the story. Their investigation's over. You were guilty.
Yeah, exactly. I have viewers. Okay, if the shit's happening alarm takes place, I'll just hit the Voshite mobilization button, and we'll all meet in like downtown Seattle and form a Roman phalanx.
Laura from Somerville. I'm gutted
Okay.
today, even though.
Okay, yeah, no. That's fine. Nice meme. Okay. God, it's so dumb. It's so fucking stupid, dude. It all does sound really stupid. There's no way of getting around it. This is all so dumb. You know how stupid I would have sounded if 10 years ago I was like, yeah, so the conservatives are going to get a Supreme Court majority. And then after that, like, they're just going to do, like, whatever. They're just going to do fucking whatever, and, like, nobody will stop them, you know? What do you think would have happened if Trump had succeeded in the coup? Honestly? What do you think would have happened? If Trump had actually succeeded in that coup, he would have declared martial law. There would have been a constitutional crisis. Different factions of the governments would either refuse to cooperate or would launch like political channels to try to, disempower him. He would send investigators or the police or whatever, military, contingents he could directly control. To try to stop that, declare martial law, say that this is sedition. The deep state is freaking out because they can't believe that he won the presidency. It'd be the end of our democracy, People really, really understate this. It would have been the end of our democracy. Would the military have stayed loyal to Biden or to Trump? Well, the military is loyal to the Constitution. The military probably would not have allowed Trump to engage in a coup. But the question was if he had succeeded in the coup. So I presuppose that the military would have allowed it to happen. But I don't think that would happen. I think the military would prevent Trump from doing that. Now, keep in mind, even if we assume that the military would not allow for a coup, yeah, first of all, the cops would absolutely side with him. But even if we acknowledged or hoped the military wouldn't do that, it is important to remember that the military can only step in some situations, right? A big coup initiated by Jan 6 is something the military could have stopped. But if the Republicans do legitimately win, or, wink, wink, win an election and dismantle a bunch of, like, election laws, a whole bunch of, like, democratic protections, that's not something the military can step in on, because that's not a coup in the traditional sense. That's just a dismantling of democracy. So, yeah, it would be a constitutionally legitimate coup, I guess. Yeah. If the Supreme Court does a 2000 again, at this point, I have a feeling that the Supreme Court would sign off on almost any insane shit that they were given. I feel like something would have to be pretty exceptional for the Supreme Court to not, to like go like, yeah, this is too far. I feel like the mask is off on this.